Okay, so I did hear a little something about this thing that went on, this whole badge talk guy. So the guy was literally dragged off stage. So I don't know the exact details, but what I have heard is he also went vastly over his time. My guess is that this is one of those things where, due to limited information, there's the overreaction. And then I've heard some things about the badging, which I will attempt to tell you what I've just heard. But let's see what it says here. Responding to the DEFCON 32 badge controversy, DEFCON thrives on community collaboration and has operated for over 30 years successfully with hundreds of vendors, including the dozens that have helped us with our badges over the years. Yeah, their badges are amazing. I have my badge at my home. Like, unironically, it is a Game Boy Color. You can load up Game Boy Colors on it and all that. It's a badge with a battery, memory, and everything. It's super, super cool. So I'm very, very excited about it. I'm gonna put some sweet Game Boy Colors on it. So it's super cool. And one thing I did notice about DEF CON is they really do try to get, like, volunteerism is very, very important at DEF CON. It's obviously really cool to see. It makes a pretty good community when everybody wants to try to contribute something, right? So I like that. All right. For this year's Raspberry Pi badges, DEF CON hired Entropic Engineering to do the hardware development and firmware. After going over budget by more than 60%, several bad faith charges, and with the product still in pre-production, DEF CON issued a stop work order. Any claims that DEF CON did not pay Entropic Engineering for its hardware or firmware development are false. Unfortunately, we heard that these issues with Entropic Engineering are not unique to DEF CON. Are you ready for a smoldering take? Software projects go over budget. You throw in hardware, software, firmware, and you're shocked that things went over budget. I don't know what to tell you. Okay? Like, I mean, I know it shouldn't be this way, and in an ideal world, we wouldn't have this happening. My guess is this is not a unique thing to Entropic Engineering. The badges were super cool. I mean, I feel bad that this happened because this is obviously not what you want to have happen, but, you know, it was a very ambitious badge. And so my guess is that made it really difficult. Timelines are the death of me. Timelines are very, very difficult. Let's see. We were happy to still include one of their contractors on the badge panel session. Unfortunately, shortly before the talk was set to take place, DEF CON became aware that unauthorized code had been included in the firmware we had paid Entropic Engineering to produce, claiming credit for the whole badge and promoting their coin wallet to solicit money from DEF CON attendees above and beyond what we negotiated. Yeah, I did see this, that there was a credits page is how it was originally kind of thrown out there. And, you know, so I think a lot of attendees were just like, oh, dude, it's just like a credits page, you know, like, yeah, it wasn't allowed, but it was a credit page, and that's fine. You know, I think a lot of people felt fine. But then at the bottom, there was definitely a wallet, some sort of crypto wallet. And I think that probably made it difficult for a lot of people to go from, oh, it's just a credits page to, oh, it also contains like a pay us thing. I think that set a lot of people really negatively on it. And for me, that was pretty negative seeing that. Engineer says done as a joke. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you do something that takes time and effort and then you say it was just a joke, it's not a good joke or it's an amazing joke. And that's it. So either it's hilarious, and if you have to apologize, it's not a joke and it's not hilarious. You just effed up. Oh, sorry, I missed this. I missed this one. I'm such an idiot. We decided at that point to finish the badge on our own. We paid to send engineers to Vietnam to work on site to finalize and test the badges in order to ensure that they would be done on time for the conference. We never removed Entropic Engineering's logo from our badge. It is still on the PCB. However, Entropic was not involved in the design and production of the case, and we removed their logo. We added as a courtesy. And we removed their logo. We added as a courtesy. Okay, so it's on the PCB, but it's just not on the case, but they had to design the case. I think that's, to me, again, that's pretty fine. I'd say that if things were running so much over budget that you had to send people to Vietnam to finish things and you had to create the case yourself, I think that's probably fine. Anyone selling these on eBay, I'd be shocked if someone were to sell this on eBay. I'm going to do the best I can to never give up mine, or to lose it, or to break it. When asked about unauthorized code, the engineer said it had been done as a joke 2 months ago and forgot to remove it. And we decided as an organization not to have him on stage while we kept the slides in the talk, giving him credit for his work. Okay, so I didn't know this part. I just heard it was going over time. Again, see, this is one of the problems about the rumor mill, is that when you're at the conference, there's obviously a rumor mill. We heard these things, and it's really hard to distinguish truth from the truth from fiction. We communicated the change in advance to the talk, and this individual decided to show up for the panel anyways. He refused to leave, demanding that our security team remove him. I mean, you know when people come into the chat and say, hey, ban me, and I ban them? I mean, I get that. And so right now I feel like DEFCON's doing a good job trying to talk through what happened. Wanting to ensure that the other people involved in creating the badge were able to deliver their presentation, we complied with his wishes and escorted him off stage, where he was free to continue attending the conference. Any issue of non-payment are between him and Entropic Engineering. DEFCON fulfilled its financial obligations. I think it's fair to post the Entropic Engineering letter. The truth is in the middle somewhere. Ooh, okay, so shall we read this one as well? Because I think this is important. Okay, so I do have this problem, and it's not that I'm calling anybody a liar. Every time I read something, I just assume they're telling the truth, which is probably a bad way to operate in life. I just assume they're telling 100% of the truth. And so reading this, I'm like, oh, absolutely, this makes total sense. The guy definitely broke the contract, putting in his own stuff, then putting in his own coin wallet. That kind of seems pretty iffy. And then asked to get removed. I mean, it sounds like everybody did the right thing here, right? This sounds completely plausible from what I heard and understood at the conference. Yeah, let's see the other side, though. All right, we'll start up at the tippity top. Entropic Engineering statement on the developing DEFCON badge concerns, August 10th. So this was during the conference, so I didn't even read this at all. Entropic Engineering was approached in January 24 by DEFCON badge team who were looking for a small company to partner with. They expressed that they specifically wanted to work with us as a woman-owned, queer, and POC-driven engineering firm to develop an electronic badge with a gaming element for this year's conference. The specifics of what they requested in January were extremely difficult, almost impossible, but we had been working with Raspberry Pi as a design partner and had early access to unreleased Raspberry Pi RP2350, a chip that would enable exactly the kind of device DEFCON was requesting. We then approached Raspberry Pi with the idea of collaborating to launch this chip at DEFCON. All negotiations, liaising, and access to the RPi was orchestrated by EE. So that's Entropic Engineering. Like us, RPi was really excited about getting this tech into the hands of some of their most enthusiastic community members, especially packaged as a retro handheld gaming device. In many ways, this was a dream project. Yeah, I would agree with that. This sounds like this sounds like such a cool project, right? Such a cool project. Despite the near impossibly short timelines to achieve a 30,000 unit mass production. By the way, 30,000 units. For those that I will get the badge here shortly, but for those that haven't seen the badge, it's like molded plastic, PCP that's in shape. There's battery, so you have to do there's a lot of thoughts that have to go into this to be able to actually make it, right? This is a very high-end, very, very high-end device. Our team of 5 worked tirelessly alongside Dimitri. He handled all of the emulator software while we sourced components, designed all the hardware, wrote production test software, and organized all circuit board manufacturing, prototype manufacturing, facilitated large volume production manufacturing, and logistics, and general project coordination. Through this period, DEFCON's responsibility was the game-specific software, badge accessories, plastic case, and lanyard, and the printed circuit board artwork, including a cat-shaped colors and silk screen. All right, so Dimitri was the one. Someone said, "Remind me who Dimitri is." Dimitri was the one that was walked off stage, and apparently he was on the platform side. So think of it this way: he wrote the platform for the game to be able to be written. Someone wrote the game. Somebody else wrote the platform for the game to be ran, which is going to be a Game Boy Color, or maybe it's a Game Boy Advance Color. I forget. I haven't looked at a Game Boy in multiple decades, so I don't know. But this is a very ambitious project. It's wild to think that this could all be done in January, starting in January up to here to August. That's already a very ambitious project. We were clear as early as our first conversation in January that risk in trying to push to mass production of this size and on this timeline was immense, even advocating for a DEFCON 2025 release of this particular badge. That's good. I mean, I think that I would love half a year isn't long enough. Yeah, for me, I immediately go, wow, this is extremely, extremely ambitious. I dislike putting engineers in crunch. I think that that's generally just a shady practice. It sounds like there was a lot of crunch. DEFCON's badge team remained confident that they could meet and mitigate this risk. Once a month, we billed our work and submitted an update estimated per badge final cost, committing as cost built to discount our work as necessary in order to hit DEFCON's per unit cost targets. In June, after 5 months of late-night work, badges were fully designed, prototypes were working, and mass production was ongoing with the manufacturers we contracted on behalf of DEFCON. We billed DEFCON for our most recent work, discounting our labor by 25% in order to meet the agreed-upon targets. Unfortunately, we were instead met with work stoppage request and informed we would no longer be paid for our services already rendered. So that's a much different experience. Also, by the way, I'm personally impressed. So regardless, the hard part is which side is now telling the truth, right? Can we all agree like this is a much different story? This is extremely difficult to suss out who's actually telling the truth at this point. You have two different stories. This is why typically in court, they don't do he said, she said, because he said, she said is impossible, right? There has to be a contract. You take writing and contracts. You don't take he said, she said, right? The truth is probably in the middle at this point. So let's pretend they did discount their labor and they did do this. Before we even address those things, I will say that 6 months of building, getting things going, I'm extremely impressed to have any working software that involves a hardware and firmware component, right? Like that's really impressive. So regardless of the outcome of this, that's crazy. I cannot believe, these badges are incredible. So that blows me away, especially custom PCB. Yeah, like this ain't easy. Making cat ears is not an easy task. I know everyone thinks it's just two triangles on top of an oval, but it's a little bit more than that, okay? Especially when you have power, because remember, power requires EE. When you have power, there's a lot of effort there. At this point, all work had been completed except our physically attending the overseas production run and providing ongoing troubleshooting/debugging. In fact, the day we received this surprising news, we were actively working on the SD card debug that became the central concern earlier this week. So a couple things I'd say right away is that obviously this thing was a very ambitious and difficult project, but I would never, ever, just as a personal thing, discount labor and send somebody a bill without showing them in writing that they're discounting the labor, right? I would want a very strong paper trail. So that way, if anything like this happened, if anything bad happened, you can go, look, we acted in good faith as possible. We worked extra nights and we did all this and we're getting screwed. So that way it'd be very easy for, say, me, the person, to look at this and go, it was actually this person with whom acted in bad faith. Because now I don't know if we do. My days are joyful again. Good. Ultimately, DEFCON chose to send a member of their own team to oversee on-site production while EE and Dimitri continued working for free behind the scenes to ensure the badges delivered to our community would reflect the care we have for our community, this project, and the Raspberry Pi launch. We take responsibility for and ownership of any oversights and mistakes that we made on this project. We are a small team working on a very limited resources and trying to accomplish a very difficult project for our community while paying the bills. EE has tried multiple times over the past months to negotiate fair compensation for work completed prior to June 7th, but attempts at resolution has been unsuccessful. So I think the big problem, again, is that my assumption is that this is where everything got thrown through a loop, is discounting without an understanding that there's discounting. And now you're just going, hey, it's 25% more. Like to them, they see a 33% increase in cost, right? So for those that don't know why I said 33% increase in cost, for those that don't understand, if you pay X, which is actually 0.75 of X, to them, this looks like X prime, right? So for you to increase this up to the full amount, it's going to look like this is actually 1.33 of the original agreed price, because you have to increase this by 25% or 33% overall. How I'm reading this is that they discounted without really being fully forthright on what it was actually costing them, because they really wanted to make this a success, for better or for worse. You know, that's why there's that old phrase, good intentions pave the road to hell, or whatever that thing is, right? And so when this all came down, I think what they're saying is that they got treatment that they did not like from DEFCON. And so they go, you know what, we really want to be fairly compensated. And so they're like, we don't really want to give them that 25% discount. And now DEFCON feels like maybe they're overcharging or trying to get money out of them that wasn't agreed upon or that they were not aware of. And so now they're going to go, okay, you guys are overcharging us. We paid everything. I don't know what you guys are talking about. We paid everything. This feels like we're being cheated now that we're caught in a funny spot here. Once the manufacturing was fully complete, we were offered a one-time take-it-or-leave-it amount well worth under half of what we were owed pre-stoppage. Given that what we were owed was already discounted. Oh, okay. So sorry, I made judgment calls too early. Given that what we were owed was already discounted by 25% in order to hit the agreed-upon costs, this has had a huge impact on our small team. We are still owed substantial sums for parts of what we purchased on behalf of DEFCON for use in the badge. Again, all subsequent offers to negotiate a settlement in good faith have not received any productive responses. Okay, so I think at this point, what would be super helpful is to show the agreed upon price and then showed what you've been paid, right? Because then this doesn't exist then, right? Show the hours you worked, show the discount, show the agreed upon price, show what you've been paid. If you do that, then it's like, okay. But then I would assume that DEFCON's counter would be, but we agreed for this price for this delivery, but you did not make that delivery, therefore we paid you this price. Yeah, they may not want to divulge the info. I know, but then what do you do? If they're not going to divulge the info, then we can never know. Yeah. Someone's lying. Yes, someone is lying. My assumption is that DEFCON got, let's just call the project X, got 0.8 of the project, so they paid 0.8 of the agreed upon cost. That's how I'm taking it right now. We have a lot of continued, because I really do want to give both people a fair shake here. I'm trying not to side with one person or the other. This is one of the biggest problems when it comes to community-led things. A lot of projects at DEFCON, and part of DEFCON's pure success is the fact that they have so many people that are willing to just commit time and effort. And I think that these people committing time and effort for free to make DEFCON a success, and this mentality of volunteerism, which I also just earlier said was good, can also, I think, lead to these type of situations much faster. I think that things stop feeling fair. Let's see, if you want people to believe, show receipts. Yes, I'm on that team. I actually really do think that there's always a problem with volunteerism. If you have extra money and you've made extra money from the conference, I don't know if DEFCON makes money or if they lose money. I know conferences are really hard to actually make money with, so I don't know the thing. But if you make money, you should find your volunteers and you should get them money, right? 1099 them, figure out the taxes, not a big deal. If Thor can do that for 20 people living in every single different country, I'm pretty sure DEFCON can figure things out as well. They take cash, so maybe the IRS doesn't know. If they did that would be crazy. I would assume DEFCON would be smarter than to fuck with the government in that way. You know, there's some very lines get blurred between working and volunteering. Yes, and that leads to huge problems because really it's an expectation problem. Let's see. I mean, they hadn't agreed sum. DEFCON says they were over it, but those dev teams are kind of weird. They do some discounts, don't pay their employees and stuff. This is a miscommunication somewhere. But I'm in a DEFCON. But I'm in a DEFCON side yet. I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, that's how I'm reading it too. But let's finish this up. All right. We have also continued to pour lots of time, effort, and love into this project post-stoppage. I want to be clear that we never expected to be paid for this post-stoppage work. We simply did it as a labor of love for the community. Again, you say these things, like especially in a situation like this, if you provide receipts, always a good move, right? Because I'm sure you have build hours / work hours / some form of tracking / GitHub commit / something. You know, show something. Always a good move. The DEFCON community is and has always been near and dear to my heart. I started my local DEFCON group as a kid growing up in Malaysia decades ago. We did everything we possibly could in order to make the badge happen this year as a love letter to the community we care about. The whole team poured everything it had, including many sleepless nights for many, many months. I am proud of my team. We weathered exhaustion, illness, robbery. Ask Dimitri, damn, robbery. And just about every logistical nightmare possible with the attitude that under no circumstances we would let this fall for a community we love and love being a part of. You know, my mom always said something that I think was really, really smart. If you love somebody, put it in writing. Put it in writing. We were confused by and extremely disappointed in the decisions made institutionally by the conference this year. In addition to the agreed upon monetary compensation, which we had been only partially provided. We were promised visibility and representation as supporters and contributors to the community. Badges for the team and conference attendees, participation in the badge talk, and credit in the announcements, signage, and on the badge case were all promised in return for our work rendered. So promised, again, promises aren't worth anything, because the thing is that a verbal contract, though stands in a lot of states, it does not. It's just not going to count. You know what I mean? It's just not going to count. And man, again, put it in writing, right? Put it in writing, because you could at least save yourself from this side of things. This feels really bad. I do feel bad because I know for a fact there's a lot of people that worked very, very hard on this, and I can understand why Dimitri said, "Take me out." Right? I feel like I'm starting to understand the picture of why he allowed being escorted off stage. We are especially hurt and confused by the conference's choice to revoke all of the above. If, as was offered as explanation, the badge project was truly out of funds when we were removed, we are especially curious how many thousands of dollars were then spent on the project of literally and physically erasing our contributions and credit. Modifying the plastic injection mold so late in the game is pricey and additionally risky. True and factual. Plastic, because assuming that it was that late that they are already printing, because that's what it was sounding like, they are already printing, you had to create new molds. You had to throw away all the previous casing, right? That could be difficult there. That'd be exceptionally expensive, I assume. While as a company did not ask Dimitri to program the Easter egg, the outpouring of support and community for EE has been appreciated and inspiring. We are especially grateful that Dimitri was not hurt in the physical removal he was subjected to as a result of his demonstration of solidarity. I don't know how I feel about this phrase. What I mean by that is that if you refuse to move, I'm happy he wasn't hurt, but at the same time, if you refuse to move and demand security remove you, you pay the price. And sometimes thanks for not killing him. Yeah, thanks for not killing him. That's just a move. If you don't want to be on that end, then you don't want to be on that end. Unprofessional behavior, unsure if it's unprofessional behavior. I'd have to think about that. I'd actually really have to think about that, because if if what they're saying is 100% accurate, then I'm actually on his team. And what I mean by that is that if you went that distance to get everything done and then even continued to make it actually work after not being paid, for them to accept, because you got to remember, that means that they were asked to stop working on it. Dimitri kept working on it, and they accepted the changes. So you got to really think about that side of things too, which means that post-stoppage work continued to have more changes brought in. That's, I think, how I'm trying to understand it. And so it's like, would I, too much hostility, not enough humility? Time and pressure can do a lot of things to people. Neither of us were under these circumstances, right? Post-op workage is unprofessional. Why? Explain that. Explain the reasoning. The company you contracted with said stop, so you stop. They said stop because of the price. I don't know. I actually have a hard time with that one. I'm not sure. He worked on it. Dimitri worked on it. It appears not trying to get money out of it, trying to make it so that it's the best it could be. So that's complicated, right? It's because it's not just a job. Yeah, it's complicated because it's not just a job. It's also their way of showing how good their product is. Like it's a very confusing place to be. Yeah, you're volunteering at that point. The coin wallet code is a bit yikes, though. Agreed. Coin wallet code's a bit yikes. We don't know the details. We're all just making assumptions at this point. Yes, we are all making assumptions, but we're trying to talk through potentials, possibilities. I'm trying to give Dimitri a fair shake here, okay? We're trying to give him a fair shake because that is, I would want one too, hopefully. The goons. I don't know. That didn't look too rough. That actually seemed pretty fine, right? Like, because obviously he's refusing to move right there, right? Refusing to move, arms crossed, So it's like that seems like that they went under his arms, right? They didn't shove him. They didn't do that. They lifted him nicely downstairs, which is a pretty nice way to go about at least that. Security guys seem good. I actually really enjoyed they were called goons, and there was a whole group of goons together. And so obviously that was goon maxing, which is very weird to see. And then on top of it, there was a bunch of compliments to the goons. And so I believe that's called goon glazing, which I think could get me canceled for saying, okay? One does not simply goon glaze. Just throwing it out there. They're originally called goons. Yeah, because goons, I mean, a goon is a standard term for just like a henchman, right? So 2024 goons. 2024 gooning is different than 2024 goons, okay? A gooner and a goon, two different, goon glazing is actually the most crazy phrase I've ever said in my lifetime, okay? Glizzy goons, I know, crazy stuff coming out of here. While as a company we did not, while we as a company did not ask Dimitri to program the Easter egg, the outpouring of support and community for EE has been appreciated and inspiring. So I also find this, I don't really like this kind of communication because I think that the Easter egg, if it was just credits, I would say that as a company you could say, Dimitri fought back and took what he believed was right. But the asking for money from the community and putting the coin wallet is probably where the things went wrong. And so I'd be a little bit more confused as a company how to address that one. I think you'd probably want to be like, hey, you know what? I don't know how we feel about that. The coin part was very upsetting, but hey, we appreciate the credit where credit was due. We want to extend our thanks to all attendees who have been asking questions, reaching out, attending surprise sidewalk cons, displaying the About page badge on the con floor, and especially keeping a community eye on law enforcement and conference security to help ensure our friend Dimitri's safety in the last 48 hours. So the robbery thing, I really wish they would have been, because obviously something else happened here. A badge circuit board was partly designed by our young EE engineer in South America. Shout out to George. It had always been Dimitri and EE's goal to use all proceeds after overhead and payroll, which is still recovering, to finance George's completion of his engineering degree. In fact, this is why we started to work on the original pre-DEFCON UGB, is that micro Game Boy gaming device in the first place. Okay. Please keep your eyes open in the near future for opportunities to help us meet this goal, despite the disappointments and challenges of the past few months. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to say this because I'm trying to figure out. This is a very interesting thing to kind of hang your hat on as a part of this whole thing. Because I'm trying to figure out, because, I don't know if you know this, but hackers generally at DEF CON are known for social engineering. I feel like I'm being socially engineered right now. Because my immediate reaction is, you're trying to help someone from South America. I mean, that could be Brazil mentioned right there. I'm right there with George, right? So it does feel like I'm being, in some sense, socially engineered. Now I'm looking, I know we're getting bamboozled. I'm on the lookouts now, right? So I think the hard part I have with all this, so just to be completely fair, DEF CON did, at least as far as I can tell, counter every addressed concern in here. I don't think that DEF CON has to, I don't think DEF CON's responsibility is to post Entropic's engineering letter. I think they can post theirs. DEF CON can, because in Entropics they didn't put a link to DEF CON's tweet, right? Depending on who came first. I don't know who came first. Okay, this must have been, I assume they either came first or second. I can't tell by the dates because the dates are on the same day. They both came out literally on the same day, August 10th. So as far as the post-work thing goes, I think this is a very good lesson. This is a very, very good lesson in realizing the importance of good contracts. And when you are asked to stop, you got to be really careful on why and how you should continue. I understand that their product and their image was on the line. And so I don't want them to get stop means stop. I understand, but then why do they continue to accept his changes? If stop means stop, assuming that changes were made, then why do they keep making them, right? That's kind of where I'm having a bit of a hard time kind of recognizing or understanding. We'll read this next. Let me go grab the badge first, though, just so you guys can see the badge. All right, I'll be right back. So there you go. I can go up, and I can go, and there you go. There's the monorail that you take, and now you're at the conference, which that conference was accurate. Pretty cool. It's running Temple OS. Run Doom on it.
I wonder if it's powerful enough to run Doom. One would just assume it is, just due to the fact that everything can run Doom. Like, everything can run Doom. It's also a touchscreen. Oh, I didn't realize it was a touchscreen. Someone got to Doom on it. Oh, someone already got Doom on it? Okay. I assume there's already a Doom Game Boy mod. And since there's already a Game Boy, I bet you there's already a Game Boy Color Doom. Yeah. Guarantee, since this is probably already exists, you just had to get a hold of this. Right? You just had to get a hold of whoever this ROM is, right? And then once you have the ROM, you can do that. Does it run Quake 3 Arena though? Oh yeah, it's Game Boy Color Advance. Right? Doom games for Game Boy Color Advance. There you go. So since it probably already exists, you just really needed the ROM for it, and I bet you just had to flash just gotta flash it, right? Maybe I'm gonna have to put this on. I'm gonna put if I can get this, I will put this thing on and we'll crush it. Right? Can it run Crysis though? That's the real question. Anyways, all right, well, I think overall this is real sad. This is real sad because at the end of the day, having stuff like this happen simply means that the people that really lose is going to be the community, because they're going to all be highly suspect now, and that's going to hurt future stuff. So, too bad. Honestly, it's too bad. Hey, the name, it sucks, but the name is, hey, to be completely fair, the name, guess what the name is? The name is got a W on Goldbug. Pretty exciting, huh? Look at that. There's the Goldbug trophy right there. Okay, that's a W. We won the Goldbug. By the way, this happens to every conference that gets big enough. There's always some sort of drama with it. TwitchCon's about to happen. And when TwitchCon does happen in September, how much do you want to bet there will be a drama associated with it, right? There will be this entire whole thing that goes down, and everybody will be angry about it, and that's that. No, it's not that I'm short. It's that Theo's just giant. Theo's like 6'4" or some crap, okay? He's huge. Aged well moment. Yep, aged well moment. So, hey, guess what? The name is the Primogen.